The hospital security footage would later show her stumbling through the automatic doors at 2:51 a.m., barefoot in December, wearing only a sports bra and leggings soaked through with ice. Behind her, a man the size of a grizzly bear carried two small children wrapped in his winter coat, their tiny faces barely visible. For exactly 4 seconds, every person in that emergency room froze, staring at the woman who looked more dead than alive, at the biker with the Hells Angels patch, at the children who should not have survived. What happened in those 4 seconds would later be described by nurses as the moment we realized we were witnessing something impossible. For 3 hours and 17 minutes, Jennifer Castellano had been dying. For 19 months before that, she'd been running. And for the last 8 years, someone who was supposed to love her had been planning exactly this. Before we continue, please subscribe and drop a comment. I'm here, plus your location, so we know you're with Jennifer tonight. All right, here's the part that changed everything. Danny said, "If I ever needed help, find his brothers." Those were the words Reaper heard 11 minutes earlier, whispered by a woman who should have been dead. 11 minutes that doctors would later testify was the exact window between Jennifer Castellano's survival and cardiac arrest from hypothermia. 11 minutes. Not 12. Not 10. 11. The kind of precision that makes you wonder if someone up there was paying attention. But let's back up, because this story doesn't start with a rescue. It starts with a decision one man made on November 28th, 3 weeks earlier, when he walked into an AutoZone in Columbus and paid a mechanic $3,800 cash to install a device that would let him kill 3 people without ever touching them. Marcus Anthony Castellano had a problem. Actually, he had several problems. But on the evening of December 20th, 2024, as he sat in his apartment watching the weather forecast, they all came down to one simple truth. His ex-wife was about to win. The custody hearing was set for March 12th, 2025. His lawyer had been blunt. The evidence she has, medical records, restraining order violations, witness testimonies. Marcus, you're looking at supervised visitation at best. Maybe less. Less. That meant he'd pay child support, $2,800 per month, increasing to $3,200 after the ruling. That meant his girlfriend Lisa would find out he'd been lying about being a widower for 6 months. That meant the Hells Angels memorial tattoo on his shoulder, the one he'd gotten to look tough, to look like he was connected to something dangerous, would be exposed as stolen valor. He'd never been a biker. He'd just married into a family that had one. And most importantly, that meant the life insurance policies he'd taken out on Jennifer, $500,000, Tyler, $200,000, and Emma, $200,000, a total of $900,000, that would solve every single financial problem he had, would never pay out. Marcus looked at his laptop screen. The weather forecast showed a massive blizzard system moving across Ohio. Expected snowfall, 14 to 18 inches. Wind chills, -35 to -40. Whiteout conditions, the worst storm to hit the state in 12 years. On his phone, the Jeep's tracking app showed Jennifer's location, still at the Riverside Diner where she worked the closing shift. 6 p.m. to 11 p.m., cleaning tables for $12 an hour plus tips. She'd be driving home on I-70 East, alone, with the kids in the back seat, picked up from the babysitter. The same route she drove every Thursday night. The same route where, 3 weeks ago, he'd paid Tony Rodriguez to install a remote kill switch on her 2015 Honda Accord. The same device that was currently armed and ready, controlled by an app on the phone in Marcus's hand. He opened the weather radar, checked the clock. 10:47 p.m. Jennifer would leave work in approximately 43 minutes. The storm would hit full force by 11:30 p.m. Exit 142 on I-70 East, the most isolated stretch of highway between Zanesville and Columbus, 18 miles between exits, no gas stations, no houses, no help, would be completely impassable by midnight. Marcus did the math. If her car died at 11:32 p.m., right as she entered that dead zone, if she tried to walk to the exit in blizzard conditions with 2 small children, if nobody stopped to help in the middle of the night during a storm, the news was calling life-threatening. How long would it take? He'd researched it. Hypothermia timeline for a 128-pound woman in wet clothing at -38 wind chill. Approximately 45 to 90 minutes to unconsciousness. For children, even faster. By morning, when the plows finally came through, they'd find a tragic accident. A mother who'd made the terrible decision to leave her car. Exposure. Poor judgment. Devastating, but not suspicious. He'd drive that route himself around 2 o'clock a.m., check to make sure. If the car was still on the shoulder and she wasn't inside, well, he'd tried to look for her. He was a concerned father checking on his family during a storm. Nobody could prove otherwise. And when the bodies were found, when the insurance investigators asked their questions, he'd play the grieving ex-husband perfectly. I told her not to drive in that weather. I begged her to stay home with the kids. She never listened. Clean, untraceable. Weather was the murder weapon. He opened the app on his phone. The kill switch interface was simple. 1 button. Disable engine. All he had to do was wait for the right moment and press it. 45 miles away, Jennifer Castellano was finishing her shift. The diner manager, Rita, was counting the register. "You sure you don't want to wait out the storm here tonight? I can call your babysitter, tell her you'll pick up the kids in the morning." Jennifer shook her head, pulling on the heavy winter coat she'd bought at Goodwill last month. "Tyler has a doctor's appointment at 9 a.m. I need to get them home, get them to bed. Roads are going to be nasty." "I know, but I'll be careful." What Jennifer didn't say, she couldn't afford to miss Tyler's appointment. It had taken 3 months to get it scheduled. He'd been complaining about stomach aches for weeks, and the school nurse had noted concerning weight loss. Jennifer suspected it was stress. They'd moved 4 times in 5 months, changing schools twice, always looking over their shoulder for Marcus. But she needed a doctor to confirm he was okay, to document that she was taking care of her children, that she was a good mother, that when the custody hearing happened in March, there would be evidence that her kids were thriving despite everything. She checked her phone. Battery at 23%. The charging cable in her car was broken. She made a mental note to stop at the dollar store tomorrow, if she had $5 to spare after rent. "Be safe, honey," Rita called as Jennifer headed for the door. The cold hit her like a fist. The wind was already howling, snow coming down sideways. The parking lot was empty except for her car, a white 2015 Honda Accord with 187,000 miles and a check engine light that had been on for 6 months. She couldn't afford to fix it. Could barely afford gas. She started the engine, cranked the heat, pulled out her phone to text the babysitter. "On my way, 30 minutes." The GPS tracker in her car sent a signal to Marcus's phone. Vehicle started. Location, Riverside Diner. Destination route, I-70 East. Marcus watched the notification appear on his screen. He opened the tracking app, watched the little blue dot begin moving east on I-70. 20 minutes later, at exactly 11:32 p.m., as Jennifer's car entered the most isolated stretch of highway, no exits for 18 miles ahead, no buildings visible through the blizzard, just dark road and deeper darkness beyond. Marcus pressed the button on his phone. The app displayed. Command sent. Engine disabled. 80 miles away, in the middle of a blizzard, Jennifer's car lost power. The engine died mid-acceleration. Dashboard lights flickered, then went dark. The car began to coast, losing speed rapidly. No, 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 no. Jennifer tried the ignition. Nothing. Tried again. Dead. She managed to steer onto the shoulder before the car stopped completely. Turned on her hazard lights, but without battery power, they didn't work. Grabbed her phone. Battery at 18%. She dialed 911. The call connected, but the signal was weak. Crackling static. 911. What's your emergency? My car broke down on I-70 East, somewhere between... The line cut out. She tried again. This time it went through. Ma'am, where are you located? I-70 East. I just passed mile marker. I think 140? I'm in a white Honda Accord, on the shoulder. I have 2 children with me, ages 6 and 3. I need help. The phone beeped. Battery at 12%. Ma'am, I'm dispatching a tow truck to your location, but response times are severely delayed due to the storm. Can you stay in your vehicle? How long? At least 2 to 3 hours, possibly longer. Jennifer looked at Tyler and Emma in the back seat. They were already asking if they could turn the heat back on. The temperature inside the car was dropping fast. She could see her breath. 2 to 3 hours. In a car with no heat, in -38 wind chill. Her phone beeped again. Battery at 8%. Ma'am, are you there? Yes, I'll wait. But please hurry. Stay in the vehicle. Keep the children warm. Do you have blankets? One small one. Use it. Help is coming. The call ended. Jennifer's phone died 6 minutes later, battery drained by the cold and the desperate attempts to call back, to reach someone, anyone. By 12:15 a.m., 43 minutes after the car died, Emma was crying because she was cold. Tyler was shivering despite wearing his coat, despite being wrapped in the single blanket Jennifer had in the trunk. By 12:40 a.m., Jennifer made the decision that would either save them or kill them. She couldn't wait any longer. The tow truck wasn't coming, not in time. The inside of the car was maybe 15 degrees now. The windows were frosted solid. Emma had stopped crying. That was worse. She'd seen a highway sign earlier, before the car died. Exit 142, 4 miles. 4 miles. She could walk 4 miles. She'd carry Emma, hold Tyler's hand. They'd make it to the exit, find a gas station, call for help from there. It was insane. Walking in a blizzard with 2 small children. But staying meant freezing to death in a car nobody would find until morning. She pulled on every layer she had, wrapped Emma in Tyler's spare jacket, got them ready. Are we walking, Mommy? Tyler asked. Just for a little bit, baby. We're going to find help. She opened the car door. The wind nearly ripped it off its hinges. The cold was a living thing, vicious and immediate. Jennifer picked up Emma, grabbed Tyler's hand, started walking east toward exit 142. What she didn't know, the sign had been wrong. Exit 142 wasn't 4 miles away. It was 4.8 miles. In a blizzard. In the dark. Carrying a 3-year-old, holding a 6-year-old's hand. At approximately 1 mile in, Tyler started crying that he was cold. Jennifer stopped, took off her coat, put it on him. It swallowed him, but it was warm. At approximately 2 miles, Emma was lethargic. Jennifer took off her sweater, wrapped it around Emma, kept walking. At approximately 3 miles, Jennifer was wearing only a sports bra and leggings. Her boots had gone to Emma, stuffed with socks, falling off, but better than nothing. Her shirt had gone to Tyler. Her scarf wrapped around both children. She was hypothermic. Her core temperature was dropping into dangerous territory. But Emma and Tyler were still conscious, still moving. Keep going. Just keep going. At approximately 3.4 miles, a family in an SUV passed her on the highway. Jennifer tried to wave them down, standing in the road with the last of her phone's flashlight, battery at 2%. The SUV swerved around her without slowing, splashed slush on her and the kids. They kept driving. At approximately 3.9 miles, a semi-truck stopped briefly under an overpass where Jennifer had taken shelter. She ran toward it, screaming, "Please, my kids!" The driver looked at her, soaking wet, wild-eyed, two small children clinging to her, and decided she looked dangerous. Drove off. At approximately 4.2 miles, a police cruiser passed on the highway. Jennifer tried to reach the road, but was too exhausted, held up her phone flashlight, battery at 1%. The officer didn't see her, or didn't stop. At approximately 4.7 miles, at exactly 2:20 a.m., Marcus Castellano drove past in his truck. He slowed when he saw Jennifer's disabled Honda on the shoulder, empty. He knew what that meant. He kept driving. At exactly 2:47 a.m., 3 hours and 17 minutes after her car died, 4.8 miles from where she'd started, Jennifer Castellano crawled behind an abandoned Sunoco gas station at exit 142, found a windbreak between a dumpster and the wall, and used her body as a blanket over Tyler and Emma. Her core temperature was 82 degrees Fahrenheit. Stage 3, hypothermia. Critical. She had stopped shivering. That was the most dangerous sign. It meant her body was shutting down. But Tyler and Emma, wrapped in every piece of clothing she'd owned, were at 90 and 89 degrees. Stage 2. Survivable. Jennifer pressed them close, started singing "You Are My Sunshine," because she didn't know what else to do. Her voice got quieter with each verse. By the last line, it was barely a whisper. Marcus Reaper Thompson was tired. He'd been driving his semi for 11 hours straight, running late because of the storm, hauling auto parts to a Columbus warehouse for a 7 a.m. delivery. He was supposed to take I-70 straight through, but at 2:45 a.m., his rear driver's side tire was making a noise that worried him, a rhythmic thump that meant either the tread was separating or something was caught in the wheel well. He needed to check it. Exit 142 was coming up. He remembered there was an abandoned gas station there, closed years ago, but it had a metal canopy he could pull under to get out of the wind. Reaper took the exit. The station was dark. Dead. No lights, no people, no cars. Perfect. He pulled his truck under the canopy, shut off the engine, grabbed his flashlight, stepped out into the wind and cold. The tire looked fine, probably just ice buildup. He'd check again in daylight. As he walked back to the cab, he heard something. A sound. Faint. Almost imagined over the howling wind. Singing. A woman's voice. Singing, "You Are My Sunshine." Reaper stopped. Listened. There it was again. So quiet he almost thought he'd made it up. He followed the sound around the back of the station. His flashlight caught something. A woman's body, nearly naked, curled around two small shapes. Her skin was gray-white, lips purple, hair frozen with ice crystals. She wasn't moving, but her lips were still moving. Still singing, though no sound came out anymore. The children underneath her were wrapped in clothes too big for them. A woman's coat, a sweater, boots that didn't fit. Their tiny faces peeked out, eyes closed, crying quietly in their sleep. Behind them, a trail of frozen blood from the woman's knees. She'd crawled here, Reaper's military first responder training kicked in. He dropped to his knees beside her, pulled off his heavy winter jacket, covered her frozen back immediately. "Ma'am, can you hear me? I'm here to help." No response. He checked the children, both crying, both conscious, both hypothermic, but alive. He tried to move them to his truck, but the woman's body was locked around them protectively. Even unconscious, her arms wouldn't release. "Ma'am, I'm moving you to warmth. I need you to let go so I can carry you." Her eyes fluttered open, barely focused, confused. She saw his Hell's Angels patch, his leather cut, now exposed after he'd removed his jacket. Recognition. Confusion. Terror. Then her lips moved. "Danny? No, you're not Danny. Danny's dead." Reaper froze. "What did you say?" Her frozen hand reached weakly toward his cut, touched the patch. Then she pulled something from inside her sports bra, barely able to move her fingers, but holding on with desperate strength. A Hell's Angels memorial patch. Worn. Faded. Carried for years. She pressed it into Reaper's hand. "Danny said, if I ever needed help, find his brothers. I couldn't find you. But you found me. Please don't let his niece and nephew die." Then she passed out. Reaper looked at the patch in his hand. His best friend's patch. Danny Castellano's patch. The one they'd given to his sister at his funeral 3 years ago. Danny's sister. This was Danny's sister. For 3 years, the Brotherhood had been trying to find her. After Danny died in the motorcycle accident in 2021, his last words had been, "Watch over Jen and the kids. Promise me." They'd promised, but Jennifer had disappeared. Moved, changed her number. Danny's widow said Jennifer's husband had made her cut off contact with those bikers. And now she was dying in the snow behind a gas station, holding her brother's patch, asking Reaper to save Danny's niece and nephew. Reaper moved like lightning, lifted Emma first, ran to his truck in 8 seconds flat. Passenger seat. Heat cranked to maximum. Emergency blanket from behind the seat. Ran back. Lifted Tyler. Truck. Sleeper cabin. Emergency blanket. "Watch your brother." Ran back for Jennifer. She was bigger, heavier, dead weight. But he got his arms under her, fireman carry, moved through foot-deep snow, into the truck, passenger seat. Emma on her lap for body heat. Tyler pressed against her from the sleeper cabin side. Then he made the call. "Priest, it's Reaper." His voice was shaking. "I found Danny's sister, Jennifer. She's dying, man. She's got his kids with her. All 3 of them freezing to death behind abandoned station exit 142. I need every brother we've got. Right now." Priest. Victor Priest Dalton. 61 years old. Ohio chapter president. Former Army chaplain. Went silent for exactly 2 seconds. "Danny's Jennifer? The one we've been trying to find for 3 years?" "Yeah. And brother, she had Danny's patch. She's been carrying it this whole time. She said Danny told her if she ever needed help, find his brothers. She tried to find us." "Priest, someone did this to her. This wasn't an accident." Silence. Then, "How do you know?" "Because her car broke down 4.8 miles back. I saw it on the shoulder. She walked through a blizzard carrying a 3-year-old and holding a 6-year-old's hand. She gave them her clothes, every single piece. She's wearing a sports bra and leggings. She was crawling when I found her. No one abandons a working car in a blizzard to walk 5 miles. Someone made that car stop. And I'm willing to bet everything I own that someone knew she'd freeze to death trying to save her kids. Another pause. Mobilize, Priest said. Code fallen brother family. Every chapter within 3 states. I don't care if they're sleeping. I don't care if they're with family. Danny's sister needs us. We failed him once. We're not failing her. I'm taking them to Zanesville Hospital, 11 minutes out. We'll be right behind you. Reaper started the truck, but before he pulled onto the highway, he wrapped Jennifer's frozen hand around Danny's memorial patch. I got you, little sister. Danny sent me. You hear me? Your brother sent me. Your family. That means these kids are family, and we protect family. He strapped them all in, kept the heat blasting, started driving. Then he made a second call to 911. 3 hypothermia victims. Exit 142, I-70 East. Get ambulance to meet me at Zanesville Hospital. I'm not waiting. I'm driving to them. Tell them 11 minutes out. Then a third call. This one to his road captain phone tree. Code fallen brother family. Danny's sister found. 3 hypothermia victims. Ex-husband suspected of attempted murder. Exit 142, I-70 East. Mobilize to Zanesville Hospital. This is not optional. Within 6 minutes, the responses started coming in. Columbus chapter rolling. 87 brothers. ETA 35 minutes. Cleveland chapter rolling. 112 brothers. ETA 90 minutes. Pittsburgh chapter rolling. 94 brothers. ETA 2 hours. Code fallen. Brother family was the highest emergency mobilization in Hell's Angels protocol. It hadn't been used in Ohio in 8 years. The last time was when a brother's widow was being stalked by an ex-boyfriend who'd violated a restraining order 7 times. This code meant, drop everything. Every member within 3 states responds. This is blood oath. By dawn, 500 Hell's Angels would converge on Ohio. Not for revenge, for justice. For a woman and 2 children who were Danny's family, which meant they were everyone's family. And the man who'd tried to kill them? He was about to learn what 500 motorcycles and 500 men with military precision could do when you hurt one of their own. At 3:02 a.m., Zanesville Hospital's emergency room doors burst open. Reaper carried Emma and Tyler in his arms. 2 nurses rushed forward with a gurney for Jennifer. Her core temperature registered at 82.4 degrees Fahrenheit on the tympanic thermometer. The ER physician, Dr. Patricia Morrison, took one look and started calling orders. Stage 3 hypothermia, get warming blankets, warm IV fluids, cardiac monitor, move. The children? A nurse asked. Stage 2, they'll survive. But the mother... Dr. Morrison's voice dropped. She's got maybe 11, 12 minutes before cardiac arrest. Maybe. Reaper stood in the hallway, still wearing his Hell's Angels cut, watching through the window as they worked on Jennifer. A security guard approached him cautiously. Sir, I need to ask you some questions about... I found them behind exit 142. Abandoned gas station. She was freezing to death protecting her kids. You want questions? Call Columbus Police. Ask for Detective Sarah Morrison. Tell her it's attempted murder. The guard blinked. Attempted murder? Her car didn't break down by accident. Someone disabled it remotely. Someone wanted her dead. Within 20 minutes, 2 things happened simultaneously. 1. Jennifer's core temperature began to rise. Slowly. 83 degrees. Then 84. The warming protocol was working. 2. The first wave of motorcycles arrived. The sound started low. Distant. Like thunder rolling across the horizon. Then it grew into a roar that rattled the hospital windows. 87 Harley-Davidsons pulled into Zanesville Hospital's parking lot at 3:38 a.m. They parked in perfect formation. Military precision, tight rows, synchronized movements. Engines cut off almost in unison. The sudden silence after all that noise felt heavy, expectant. 87 men in leather cuts, bearing the same insignia, stepped off their bikes. Not running, not shouting, simply present. Priest was in the lead. Victor, Priest Dalton, 61 years old, gray beard, calm eyes that had seen 2 decades of Army chaplaincy and 14 years leading this chapter. Behind him, Bones, Gerald Matthews, 56, retired Ohio State Police detective who'd spent 30 years working homicide. Doc, Sarah Chen, 43, trauma surgeon at Columbus General Hospital, the only female chapter officer who'd ridden through the blizzard in full gear to be here. Wire, Jason Park, 37, digital forensics expert, former NSA analyst, carrying a laptop bag. Ghost, Michael Torres, 49, private investigator and former FBI agent, already on his phone pulling records. They walked into the hospital lobby. The night security guard looked at them, 87 bikers in cuts, and reached for his radio. Priest raised one hand. Calm. Non-threatening. "We're not here to cause trouble. We're here because that woman in the ER is family. Her brother was one of ours. He died 3 years ago, asking us to watch over her. We lost track of her. But now she's here, and we're not leaving until we know she's safe." The security guard hesitated. Bones, the ex-cop, stepped forward. "Son, I'm former OSP, Detective Division. I have contacts at Columbus PD who'll vouch for us. But right now, that woman needs protection, because whoever put her in that condition is still out there, and if he knows she survived, he might try again." The guard lowered his radio. "Stay in the lobby. Don't block the ER. And if you cause any problems, we won't," Priest said simply. Now you might be thinking, 87 Hell's Angels descend on a hospital, and chaos is about to break loose. Fists flying, voices raised, intimidation tactics. That's what you'd expect, isn't it? That's not what happened. What happened was this. They sat down, quietly, in the lobby chairs, in perfect order. Waiting, because that's what brotherhood meant. Not violence, presence, showing up, staying. At 4:15 a.m., Jennifer was stable enough for police interview. Detective Sarah Morrison, no relation to Dr. Morrison, arrived with a recorder and a notepad. Reaper was allowed in as family friend. Jennifer's voice was weak, slurred from hypothermia recovery, but clear enough. "Mrs. Castellano, can you tell me what happened tonight?" "My car died on I-70 East, around 11:30. I tried to restart it. Nothing. I called 911. They said 2 to 3 hours for help, but it was so cold. The kids were freezing. I thought we'd die if we stayed." "So you walked?" 4 miles. That's what the sign said, but it was longer. I gave the kids my clothes because they were so cold. I thought if I could just get them warm." Her voice broke. "I saw my car. Later, when I could barely stand. Someone drove past it, slowed down, looked at it, then kept going. It was Marcus, my ex-husband. He saw my car. He knew I was out there. He knew his children were out there. And he kept driving." Detective Morrison wrote this down. "You're certain it was him?" "His truck, dark blue Ford F-150, license plate JKM 4782. I know that truck. He drove past at, I don't know, maybe 2 o'clock a.m.? I was crawling by then." The detective made a note. "Why would your ex-husband want to harm you?" Jennifer's eyes met Reaper's, then back to the detective. "Life insurance, $500,000 on me, $200,000 on each of the kids. He took the policies out in August, right after I filed for divorce. And he's been tracking me. GPS on my car. He works in IT. He knows how to hack, how to install devices. 3 weeks ago, my car started acting weird. Engine would cut out for a second, then restart. I took it to a mechanic. He said nothing was wrong. But something was wrong. Marcus did something to it. I know he did. The detective looked skeptical. That's a serious accusation. Check his phone. Check his computer. Check the search history. Check what he looked up tonight while I was dying. Bones, the retired detective, stepped closer. Detective Morrison, I'm Gerald Matthews, retired OSP homicide. I'd like to offer assistance on this case. Morrison looked at him, recognized the road name. You're Bones Matthews. I've heard of you. Then you know I don't waste people's time. This woman's car didn't randomly die in the exact worst location during the exact worst storm. That's not coincidence. That's planning. Morrison closed her notepad. I'll request a warrant for the ex-husband's phone and computer, but that takes time. How much time? Reaper asked. Could be hours. Could be a day. He'll destroy evidence by then, Bones said. Maybe, but I can't do anything without a warrant. That's when Wire stepped in. Jason Park, 37, former NSA analyst, opened his laptop in the hospital conference room that Priest had quietly negotiated to borrow. Detective, I don't need a warrant to pull public records. Vehicle registrations, insurance policies, court filings, phone numbers. I can tell you in 10 minutes if there's a pattern here. Morrison hesitated, then nodded. Public records only. Nothing illegal. Wire's fingers flew across the keyboard. 5 minutes later, he had it. Marcus Anthony Castellano, age 34, senior IT systems analyst at Cardinal Health, Columbus. Annual salary $94,000. Filed for separation from Jennifer Marie Castellano on June 12, 2024. Restraining order granted July 3, 2024. Violated 4 times, September 7th, September 19th, October 3rd, November 12th. Each time, arrested, released within 48 hours. He pulled up another screen. Life insurance policies. State Farm policy on Jennifer, $500,000, taken out March 2020. That's normal. They were married. That's standard. But here's where it gets interesting. Wire turned the laptop so the detective could see. Nationwide policies on Tyler and Emma Castellano. $200,000 each. Taken out August 17, 2024. 1 month after the restraining order. Beneficiary, Marcus Castellano. Previous policies on the children were $50,000 each. He increased them to $200,000, specifically requesting double indemnity clauses for accidental death. Morrison leaned closer. Who requests double indemnity on their children? Someone planning an accident, Wire said quietly. Ghost, the PI and former FBI agent, added his findings. I pulled his bank records, public information from the divorce filing. He withdrew $3,800 cash on November 28th. ATM receipt says Columbus, Ohio. No explanation for where that money went. But 3 weeks ago is exactly when Jennifer says her car started acting weird. Morrison was writing faster now. Anything else? He's in debt. $45,000 credit cards, car loan, legal fees. Paying $2,800 monthly child support. His girlfriend, Lisa Chen, age 32, works at a dental office, thinks he's a widower. He told her his wife died 2 years ago. But Jennifer's alive, which means he was planning for her not to be. The detective stood. I need to talk to my sergeant. This is enough for an emergency warrant. How long? Priest asked. 2 hours. Maybe less. We'll wait. While they waited, the witnesses started appearing. First was Rachel Martinez, 42, neighbor from Jennifer's old apartment complex on Riverside Drive. She sat in the conference room, hands shaking around a coffee cup that Doc had brought her. "I lived next door to them for 2 years," Rachel said. "I heard things." "What kind of things?" Ghost asked gently. He was interviewing her, taking notes, recording everything for the police. "Screaming, her screaming. 'Stop, you're hurting me.' I heard it. God, maybe 10 times over those 2 years. The worst was about 8 months ago. I heard crashing, furniture breaking. Then I saw him, Marcus, dragging her by her hair across the living room. I could see through their window. She was crying. He was yelling that she was worthless, that she'd never leave him, that he'd make sure of it." "Did you call the police?" Rachel's face crumpled. "No, I didn't. I told myself it wasn't my business. That maybe I was misunderstanding. That maybe she'd call if she really needed help. But I knew something was wrong. And I did nothing." Her voice broke. If I'd just called one time, maybe she wouldn't have been out there tonight. Maybe those kids wouldn't have almost died. This is my fault." Ghost's voice was firm but kind. "Ma'am, this is his fault. Marcus's, not yours. But we need you to tell the police exactly what you just told me. Will you do that?" She nodded. "Yes, anything. I should have done it years ago." Second witness, David Chen, 52, Marcus's co-worker at Cardinal Health. He came to the hospital at 6:00 a.m. after Bones tracked him down through employment records and called him directly. "I work in the same IT department as Marcus," David said. "We're not friends, but we talk. About 6 months ago he started— bragging isn't the right word. Showing off? He showed me an app on his phone, said it was a GPS tracker he'd installed on his wife's car, said he could see where she was at all times." "Did he say why?" Wire asked. "He said she was mentally unstable, and he needed to make sure she wasn't putting the kids in danger, but he was smiling when he said it, like it was funny, like he enjoyed watching her." David shifted uncomfortably. "A few weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks, he asked me if I knew how to remotely disable a car's engine. Said he was thinking about installing a kill switch on his car for security purposes. I told him that was a terrible idea, that it was probably illegal. He laughed and said he was just curious." "Did you report this?" "No, I didn't think he'd actually do anything. I thought he was just being a controlling ex-husband. I didn't think—" David's voice dropped. "I didn't think he'd try to kill her." Third witness, Tony Rodriguez, 44, mechanic at AutoZone on East Broad Street, Columbus. Ghost found him through a cash transaction record. Marcus had withdrawn $3,800 on November 28th from an ATM 2 blocks from this AutoZone. One phone call, and Tony agreed to come in. He sat across from Bones and Wire, looking nervous. "Did you install a remote kill switch on a 2015 Honda Accord for Marcus Castellano?" Bones asked. Tony hesitated, then nodded. "Yeah, November 28th. He paid me $3,800 cash. Said it was for his car, that he wanted to be able to disable it remotely if it got stolen. I thought it was weird, but the money was good." "Did he test it?" "Yeah, right there in my shop. He had an app on his phone. Pressed a button. Engine died. He was thrilled. Asked me specifically about range. How far away could he be and still trigger it? I told him basically unlimited as long as he had cell service. The device connects to the car's computer, shuts down ignition, and sends a confirmation to the app." Tony's hands were shaking. "I didn't know. I swear I didn't know what he was planning. If I'd known he was going to use it to—" Bones's voice was steady. "You're going to testify to this. In court. You understand?" "Yes. Absolutely. Whatever you need." At 7:53 a.m., Detective Morrison got her warrant. At 8:20 a.m., she and 4 officers arrived at Marcus Castellano's apartment at 2847 Riverside Drive, Columbus. Marcus was in his kitchen, making breakfast, scrambling eggs, humming along to the radio. He'd just gotten out of the shower, hair wet, wearing sweatpants and a t-shirt, the same hands that had pressed a button to disable his ex-wife's car in a blizzard were now flipping eggs in a pan. When the knock came, he opened the door, spatula still in hand, looking annoyed. "Marcus Castellano?" Detective Morrison asked. "Yeah, what's this about?" "You're under arrest for attempted murder, 3 counts of child endangerment, felony stalking, and violation of a restraining order. Turn around. Hands behind your back." His face went pale. "What? I didn't—" "You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law." They read him his rights right there in his doorway, cuffed him, walked him past neighbors who'd come out to watch. In his pocket, his phone. With the Kill Switch app still installed, with GPS tracking data showing he'd driven I-70 east at 2:20 a.m., stopped near Jennifer's disabled car for 4 minutes, then driven away. On his laptop, search history, December 15th. How long can children survive in freezing temperatures? December 17th. Blizzard warning, Ohio, December 2024. December 19th. Remote car kill switch installation. December 20th, 11:45 p.m., 13 minutes after disabling Jennifer's car. Hypothermia symptoms timeline. In his text messages, a conversation with his girlfriend, Lisa Chen, from December 20th at 11:47 p.m. Marcus. Problem solving itself tonight. By morning I'll be free and clear. Lisa. What does that mean? Marcus. Don't worry about it. Just pack for that cruise. We're going to have a good year. Detective Morrison held up the phone. This is your phone, correct? Marcus said nothing. We have a warrant. We're seizing all electronic devices, financial records, and vehicle access. You're being transported to Franklin County Jail. Bail hearing is Monday morning. At 9:15 a.m., Priest received the call from Detective Morrison. He's in custody. You were right. We found everything. The app, the search history, the texts. He planned this, all of it. Priest closed his eyes, breathed out slowly. Then he turned to the 87 brothers in the hospital lobby, now joined by another 112 from Cleveland who'd arrived at dawn, and 94 from Pittsburgh who'd rolled in an hour ago. 293 Hells Angels in the Zanesville hospital lobby and parking lot. Priest's voice carried across the room. Brothers, Marcus Castellano is in custody. Attempted murder. 3 counts of child endangerment. Felony stalking. He's going to trial. Jennifer and the kids are safe. For exactly 3 seconds, silence. Then every single man stood up. Not cheering, not shouting, just standing. A silent acknowledgement. Justice. 1 week later, Marcus Castellano's bail hearing. The prosecutor presented evidence, GPS data, search history, text messages, witness testimonies, the kill switch device itself, removed from Jennifer's car by forensic techs. The defense argued that this was circumstantial, that Marcus had been checking on his family's safety, that his presence on I-70 was coincidental. The judge, Judge Patricia Morrison, the same one who'd denied Jennifer's emergency custody motion 6 weeks earlier, looked at the evidence spread before her. She looked at Marcus. Then she spoke. Mr. Castellano, 3 weeks ago, you paid a mechanic to install a device that would allow you to remotely disable your ex-wife's vehicle, On the night of December 20th, during the worst blizzard in a decade, you activated that device while she was driving on the most isolated stretch of highway with your 2 children in the car. You then drove to that location 2 hours later, confirmed her car was abandoned, and left without calling for help. Your search history shows premeditation. Your text messages show intent. Your financial records show motive. She paused. Bail is set at $500,000 cash, no bond. And given the severity of charges and the clear danger you pose, I'm ordering GPS monitoring and house arrest pending trial. You will not leave your residence except for court appearances. You will have no contact, direct or indirect, with the victims. Violation means immediate revocation of bail and detention until trial. Marcus's lawyer started to object. The judge cut him off. Mr. Castellano, you tried to murder your children. That's not hyperbole. That's what the evidence shows. You're lucky you're getting bail at all. Next court date is January 15th for preliminary hearing. We're done here. Marcus was led out in handcuffs. He didn't have $500,000. His hidden accounts totaled $87,000. His mother refused to post bail. His girlfriend stopped returning his calls after the arrest made the news. He sat in Franklin County Jail, alone. Exactly where he'd tried to leave Jennifer and the kids. Justice had been served. But justice wasn't the ending. It was only the beginning. Within 48 hours of Marcus's arrest, the Brotherhood moved with the same precision they'd used to arrive. Doc, Sarah Chen, the trauma surgeon, coordinated Jennifer's medical care. Frostbite on her fingers and toes required careful monitoring. 2 fingers on her left hand and 3 toes on her right foot had suffered tissue damage severe enough that doctors worried about amputation. But with proper treatment, hyperbaric oxygen therapy, wound care, medication, they believed she'd keep them. You'll have scars, Doc told Jennifer gently. Sensitivity to cold for the rest of your life. But you'll heal. Tyler and Emma recovered faster. Children's bodies bounce back with remarkable resilience. Within 3 days, their core temperatures were normal. Within a week, the frostbite on their ears and cheeks had healed to pink, healthy skin. But the psychological scars would take longer. Emma woke up screaming 3 times that first week. Tyler refused to go near windows, terrified of seeing his father's truck. Jennifer couldn't stop checking locks, couldn't sleep without the lights on, couldn't stop the shaking that had nothing to do with hypothermia. Priest arranged for a trauma therapist, Dr. Rebecca Walsh, who specialized in domestic violence survivors and children. The Brotherhood paid for it. $180 per session, twice a week for Jennifer. Once a week for each child. Cost? $1,440 per month. Funded entirely by Hells Angels Ohio Chapter General Fund. Housing was next. Jennifer's apartment lease was in Marcus's name. She couldn't go back there. She had $340 in her checking account. First month's rent, plus deposit on a new place, would cost at least $1,800. Money she didn't have. Ghost. Michael Torres, the PI, made some calls. Found a 2-bedroom apartment in a complex that catered to domestic violence survivors. Security doors. Cameras. On-site management. First month free for victims with protective orders. Address: 847 Maple Court, Apartment 2B, Columbus. Bones, the retired detective, personally drove Jennifer and the kids there on December 28th, helped her fill out paperwork, made sure the restraining order was filed with building management. Wire, Jason Park, installed additional security. A ring camera at her door. Motion sensors on windows. An emergency alert system connected directly to his phone and Priest's phone. If Jennifer felt unsafe, she pressed one button, and two brothers would be there within minutes. When Jennifer walked into the empty apartment, just walls and carpet, no furniture, she started crying. "I don't have anything," she whispered. "No beds, no dishes, nothing." Reaper, standing in the doorway, smiled for the first time since finding her. "You will. Give us 2 hours." 2 hours later, the apartment was furnished. Beds, donated by a brother who owned a furniture store. Dishes, pots, pans, collected from 5 different brothers' homes. Toys for Tyler and Emma, brought by brothers who had kids of their own. A worn leather jacket, Reaper's spare, hung on a hook by the door. "For when you go out in the cold," he said quietly. "You don't walk anywhere without a coat again. Ever." Jennifer touched the jacket. Her fingers, still bandaged, still healing, traced the Hell's Angels patch on the back. I can't pay you back for any of this." Priest, who'd supervised the entire operation, shook his head. "You're Danny's sister. That means you're our sister. Family doesn't owe family. Family just shows up." Financial stability came next. Ghost pulled strings through his private investigation network, got Jennifer an interview at a law firm that needed a receptionist. $18 per hour. Benefits after 90 days. Day shift, so she could be home with the kids after school. She started January 6th. The Brotherhood also established something they called the Danny Castellano Family Fund. Contributions from brothers across 6 chapters. By January 15th, it held $12,800. Purpose: emergency expenses, kids' activities, anything Jennifer needed while getting back on her feet. She cried when Priest told her, "This is too much." "It's not nearly enough," he said simply. Legal protection was airtight. Marcus's trial was set for March 2025. Prosecutor was confident. The evidence was overwhelming. GPS data, search history, witness testimonies. The kill switch device itself. Text messages showing intent. Expected charges at trial. Attempted murder, 3 counts. Child endangerment, 2 counts. Felony stalking. Violation of restraining order, 4 counts. Fraud, for the insurance policies. Expected sentence if convicted. 15 to 25 years state prison. Jennifer's divorce attorney, Rebecca Kim, whose fees were now being paid by the Brotherhood's legal fund, filed for emergency custody. Granted immediately, Marcus would have 0 visitation rights, even if he somehow made bail. Restraining order, extended, upgraded to protection order with criminal penalties for any violation. Jennifer was safe. Legally, financially, physically. But the real test was whether she felt safe. 3 months later, on a Saturday morning in March, Jennifer sat in the Hells Angels, Ohio chapter clubhouse, 2840 Industrial Drive, Columbus, watching Tyler play basketball in the parking lot with 3 brothers who'd volunteered to coach his youth team. Emma was inside, coloring at a table, surrounded by 4 bikers who were pretending to be very interested in her drawing of a purple dinosaur. Jennifer was drinking coffee. Real coffee, not the instant kind. Doc had brought it, along with cinnamon rolls from a bakery she liked. "How are you doing?" Doc asked, sitting down beside her. Jennifer thought about that question. 3 months ago, she'd been dying in the snow. Core temperature 82 degrees, 11 minutes from cardiac arrest. Now she was here, warm, safe. Her children were laughing. Actually laughing, something she hadn't heard in months before that night. She'd made honor roll at her new job, Employee of the Month in February. Tyler was back in school, doing well. His teacher said he was coming out of his shell. Emma still had nightmares, but less often now. Once a week, instead of every night. Jennifer's frostbite scars had healed enough that she could use her hands normally. The sensitivity to cold remained. She wore gloves even in 50-degree weather now, but she was alive. Her children were alive. Marcus's trial had been delayed to May, but the prosecutor was confident. He'd been denied bail reduction twice. He sat in Franklin County Jail, awaiting justice. "I'm okay," Jennifer said finally. "For the first time since I married him, I'm actually okay." Doc smiled. "Good, because we're not going anywhere. You're stuck with us now." Jennifer looked around the clubhouse, at the men in leather cuts who'd dropped everything to save her, who'd furnished her apartment, who'd paid for therapy, who'd shown up every single time she needed them. "Danny would be proud of you all," she whispered. Priest, overhearing from across the room, walked over. He held something in his hands, a frame. Inside, Danny's memorial patch. The one Jennifer had carried for 3 years. The one she'd pressed into Reaper's hand that night. "This belongs here," Priest said, "in the clubhouse, as a reminder of Danny, and of his family, and of why we ride." He hung it on the wall, right next to the chapter charter. Below it, a small plaque. "For Danny, and for the family he asked us to protect." Stage 5. Message, moral. But this story isn't really about a blizzard, or a car, or even a rescue. It's about something far more important. It's about the moment when systems fail and people decide not to. 6 months after that December night, Jennifer stood in a Franklin County courtroom, watching Marcus Castellano receive his sentence. The trial had lasted 3 days. The jury deliberated for less than 2 hours. Guilty. On all counts. The judge, a different judge this time, not the one who'd denied Jennifer's emergency custody motion, delivered the sentence, "Mr. Castellano, you methodically planned the murder of your ex-wife and your 2 children. You used your technological skills to disable their vehicle in the worst possible location during the worst possible weather. You drove past their abandoned car, knowing they were likely dying, and you left them. The evidence is overwhelming. The intent is clear." She paused. "I am sentencing you to 22 years in state prison. No eligibility for parole for 18 years. Upon release, you will have a permanent restraining order from your children and a lifetime prohibition on unsupervised contact with any minor." Marcus showed no emotion, just stared straight ahead. Jennifer, sitting in the gallery with Reaper beside her, felt something release in her chest. Not joy, not even satisfaction, just safety. For the first time in years, she was safe. 1 year after the blizzard, on a cold December Saturday, the Hells Angels Ohio chapter held their annual memorial ride. 247 motorcycles lined up in the parking lot of 2840 Industrial Drive. Jennifer, Tyler, and Emma stood at the front, each holding a small flag with Danny's name on it. This year's ride was dedicated to Danny Castellano, and to the family he'd asked his brothers to protect. At the front of the formation, Reaper, on his Harley, with Jennifer riding behind him as passenger. Tyler rode with Bones. Emma rode with Doc, in a specially designed child seat. They rode through Columbus, through downtown, past the hospital where Jennifer had been saved, past the courthouse where Marcus had been sentenced. And then they rode out to the cemetery where Danny was buried. 247 bikers, parked in formation, standing in silence at Danny's grave. Priest spoke. "Brother, we kept our promise. Your sister is safe. Your niece and nephew are thriving. And the man who tried to hurt them will never touch them again. Rest easy." Jennifer placed flowers on Danny's grave, purple carnations, his favorite. "Thank you," she whispered, "for sending them to me." Here's what you need to understand. Jennifer filed police reports. She got a restraining order. She did everything the system told her to do. And the system failed. 4 times. 4 restraining order violations, 4 arrests, 0 real consequences, 12 documented complaints over 3 years, 0 action, 1 emergency custody motion, denied. The system was designed to be slow, to give the benefit of the doubt, to assume good faith, to believe that people can change. But Marcus didn't want to change. He wanted Jennifer dead. And the system gave him 4 chances, 5 chances, 6 chances to make that happen. Until a group of men in leather jackets decided that sometimes you don't wait for the system to work. You show up. You stay. You protect. If you've ever felt invisible, this story is for you. If you've ever asked for help and been told to wait, to document, to be patient while danger closes in, this is for you. There are Jennifers everywhere, in every city, in every state, filing reports that get dismissed, begging for protection that never comes, trying to escape partners who've learned exactly how much the system will tolerate before acting. The Hells Angels mobilized 500 brothers because Jennifer was family. But what about the women who don't have 500 motorcycles? What about the children who don't have a dead uncle whose friends ride in formation? You don't need 500 motorcycles to change someone's story. You need one person willing to pay attention, to believe, to act. When your neighbor says, "I'm fine," but has a new bruise every week, don't look away. When a child in your class shows up with injuries that don't match the explanation, ask the uncomfortable questions. When someone you know files a restraining order and the system releases the abuser within 48 hours, check on them. Offer your couch. Give your phone number. Show up. Because Jennifer walked 4.8 miles in a blizzard, barefoot, stripping off her clothes piece by piece to save her children, while 4 people drove past without stopping. 4 people saw. 4 people chose not to help. You could be the 5th person, the one who stops, the one who calls 911 and stays on the line, the one who says, "I believe you. I'm here." Jennifer doesn't ride anymore, but she wears a leather jacket now, Reaper's spare, the one he gave her that first day in her new apartment. She wears it every December, on the anniversary of the night she almost died. Tyler is 7 now. He plays soccer. He still sees a therapist once a month, but the nightmares have stopped. He knows his father is in prison. He knows his father tried to hurt them. But he also knows that his Uncle Danny's friends, 200+ uncles in leather cuts, will always show up when he needs them. Emma is 4. She doesn't remember much of that night, which is a mercy. She knows she loves motorcycles. She knows that the big, scary-looking men with beards are actually the safest people in her world. And Jennifer? She works at the law firm. She's been promoted twice. She volunteers at a domestic violence shelter on weekends, helping other women navigate the system that failed her. She tells them, "Document everything, but don't wait for the system to save you. Find people who will show up. Build your own safety net. Because sometimes the heroes don't wear uniforms. Sometimes they wear leather and ride Harleys. This story is for everyone who's ever been told they're too loud, too dramatic, too paranoid when they report abuse. This story is for everyone who's been failed by the system designed to protect them. This story is for everyone who's ever needed 500 motorcycles but settled for one person who believed them. If this story moved you, subscribe to this channel. Share it. Comment below with someone who showed up for you when no one else did. Or comment with what you wish someone had done. Because stories like Jennifer's happen every day. But most of them don't end with 500 Hell's Angels and a rescue. Most of them end with silence. We're changing that. One story at a time. And if you're Jennifer, if you're reading this, and you're living it right now, I want you to know something. That whisper in your head that says you're crazy, that you're overreacting, that nobody will believe you, that's not your voice. That's his voice. And it's a lie. You're not invisible. Someone sees you. And if the system won't act, find people who will. Find your 500 motorcycles. Or your one neighbor. Or your one co-worker who says, I believe you. I'm here. Because nobody should have to walk 4.8 miles through a blizzard, barefoot, dying, to save their children while the world drives past. Nobody. On a cold December morning, Jennifer stood in her apartment, warm, safe, secure, and looked out the window at the parking lot below. Reaper's truck was there. He'd driven by to check on her, like he did every Saturday. She could still hear the sound of wind howling, could still feel the cold that nearly killed her, could still remember the moment her lips stopped forming words, when "You are my sunshine" became just breath, became nothing. But now, when she heard wind, she also heard something else. The rumble of 500 motorcycles, the sound of family arriving, the sound of people who showed up. And she smiled. Because she was safe. Her children were safe. And the man who'd tried to murder them sat in a cell, facing 18 years before parole, knowing that even when he got out, 500 men would still be watching. Justice had been served. But more importantly, love had shown up. And that made all the difference. If you believe that heroes wear leather and kindness looks like showing up, comment, I stand with Jennifer, and subscribe to Gentle Bikers for more stories that prove the scariest looking people in a room are sometimes exactly who you need.